What's up, everyone? I am at my new place, getting settled, and I thought I would just do a little like live coding kind of thing. I'm just gonna write a very small program that basically alerts me whenever someone logs into my old legacy forgotten servers that's running some number of services or websites. If someone logs in there with SSH, I only do that once every couple of months to run updates, so it's a bit of an event. What I would like to happen is someone logs in or becomes root there, and I get a text message saying, hey, someone just logged in from this IP address to this server. And I'm thinking I can, it's probably something we can do with a very small Python script. I'm using Python. I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll do this in Go, or maybe I'll do this in something else, but I just, something about little scripts, I just like Python. And I think it's also where I'm gonna meet you guys. It's Sunday morning, and let's just write a little bit of code. Okay, so I've just set up a very basic environment here. Made a virtual environment, so you can see that here. I guess we'll make a git ignore, and we'll just say env. Oh my god, they have a client. What? Well, that makes things easy. So I've done a bunch of munging things around, mostly to keep my API keys secret. I'm going to destroy these after using them, but just want to be safe and not show anything on screen that is irresponsible of me. So we have a basic like test rig set up now. This would be like my first approach is I brought like the most basic functionality, kind of like the core thing that I'm trying to test. There's two core things to this application. I just picked one. The first is can we send an SMS from Python? Should be fairly straightforward because we're just using an API to do it. And the second one is, can we tail a log file and see if it has content that we're interested in, like the type of content we would see if someone was logging in. So that is that's sort of the next thing I'm going to do. First, I'm going to send myself a test SMS. Let's see if it works. This is now working. I'm able to send text messages. This is impossible to do without exposing a whole bunch of information. I'm gonna be blotting a lot out on the screen, I think. But my response looks good. I have some basic error handling. Instead of just print line debugging, I'm now actually emitting, I'm actually doing proper, to some degree, basic logging using Python's logging library. That way we'll easily be able to consume this service later when we run it as a systemd unit. When we have this running as a service, it'll sort of all work properly with systemd's logging with the journal. And yeah, so we have kind of part one is done. We're gonna wrap part one up into a function that we want to call from our other thing, which is I need more coffee. Which is the caffeine. There it is. Which is our log parsing function. So So basically this is divided into two real functions, like main runs, it's a loop, it parses a log, checks to see if since our last poll it finds a line that's like, hey, somebody logged in or somebody became root. If so, it fires off this second function, which actually goes out and sends an email, but we're not going to assemble it all yet. I think this is one of those like premature optimization things. People are like, I'm composing this symphony, I know how it's going to look. You don't know what it's going to look like, so don't prematurely design the whole thing. Get the absolute kind of like basic things working and kind of compose or abstract each basic bit of functionality into a single function, the way that you think of it, like sending a text message. That's one thing. That is one thing my program does. That's going to be one function. Sorry, I sent quite a few test messages. They're still coming in. Yeah, so then we kind of compose the second part that my program does, which is, parse the log, match a certain string, and do something. At first, we're just going to print out a line when it finds a certain thing, because I don't want to spend a bunch of money on text messages while we're testing. And then we compose those together. And then we kind of think about, okay, how is this program going to like live? What's the environment it's going to be in? I'm guessing it's just going to be a simple systemd unit file. So we'll write a systemd unit file, and then we'll actually test installing that on a VPS. I'm going to use a DigitalOcean VPS, and it's going to cost me like 10 cents to test this thing for a few hours. And yeah. All right, I just can't stop myself. Let's just keep going. This is what we want to package up. So this is going to be all of our initialization. We make sure we have all the stuff we need to run this program, kind of like prep the Nexmo client. That's just going to be a kind of like global object in our program here. And then we're going to actually def, maybe we'll just call it send SMS. And this will just take a message, and it really just needs like a number, right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's it's been a few hours. I'm gonna come back to this and do some more stuff. We'll get the log parsing function tested, integrate the two, and then hopefully have a small local application in a few minutes that we can run and test, and it'll kind of behave how we expect. And then we can test it. We can kind of create a systemd service with it. So like using a unit file. Install it on a remote machine. We'll use a DigitalOcean test machine. If you want to help out the channel, check the description below for a DigitalOcean affiliate link. You'll be helping me out, and you'll get some free credit too. It's super useful for playing around with things and to kind of get a feel for how things will behave in a more production-like setting that isn't your laptop. Yeah, so I'm gonna jump in and start doing that. Yes, that's a text message. Hello from SSH Alert. Hell yeah, 1:52 p.m. All right. Well, I guess now I can say. We should get a debug. Yep. Okay. So this is working. The whole thing is actually working now. So logline that we're gonna ignore. Blah 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 blah. Okay. So we can remove this because I actually don't care about this logline. I only need it to make noise when it does something. Maybe we'll label these a little better. All right, we are actually at a point that I was hoping to get to. The last part of this development process was remarkably smooth, not because I'm so good, but because I have actually written this program before, so I kind of remembered what I had done. I knew that it was like, I didn't use a sub-process run. I used like the popen constructor directly, because I'm gonna pull something. I'm not gonna wait for something to complete and then read back all the, standard out, standard error, etc. It's unfortunately about a 4-hour shortcut of me reading this the first time, figuring it out, playing around with a bunch of approaches that didn't work. In the next video I make like this, you'll see a bunch of that, but hopefully this will still be useful, because next we can think about actually modifying it to, if we need to, and adding the code we need for it to run in the environment that we actually expect it to live in the long term. So on some remote server, because again, the problem statement is I want to be alerted if anybody, including myself, logs into my VPS or becomes root there and a process there starts sudoing. So yeah, I guess we'll get started with that. Module and home Pi so far. What about this? Might be a serious digression, but what if we like statically link this up? Let's find out. Okay, no, this is crazy. No, we're not gonna do that. This is like a whole other can of worms, and we're abandoning it. Forgot to record, but I made a droplet. It's over here. I just updated. The output is broken, but hell yes, it worked. I think I'm done for the day. I gotta go paint some doors. Yeah, so basically, we now have a systemd unit file. We've tested running it as systemd unit with its own virtual environment on a DigitalOcean virtual machine running Ubuntu 18.04. I guess in a week I'll update this. It'll be about the same on 20.04, any new version. I've upgraded the secrets file format so that it works as a systemd environment file. A couple other small things. It's super straightforward, but you can see how, like, you know, a script that's simple and then an environment that's relatively simple, like even just combining those things, it takes a lot more time than you think it will, even when you have implemented very similar things before, as I have. I've probably been working for cumulatively today, maybe like 3 hours on this. So maybe a little less. These things take time. They always take more time than you think. And, but in the end, especially things like keeping this README is something I've learned through pain over time. It's not so much for anyone else to consume this, not because I think this is going to become a huge project, but more because I know that I'm going to forget how to install and run this and what I was expecting, and the fact that I expect an systemd compatible environment file now instead of just something that I can source from bash. All these things, yeah, they kind of add up to some complexity, and you kind of have to always be managing that complexity, and not by over-designing your program from the beginning because you don't know what you're going to end up needing, and that makes more complexity, but rather by just writing what you need when you need it, thinking ahead of how the thing is going to look and work a little bit, trying some things, not being afraid to abandon different approaches, like that whole static. As soon as I spent 20 minutes looking at Cython and potentially building a statically linked C binary of this program, I was like, okay, I just spent 25 minutes on this. It was interesting, but I know that in 5 minutes I can just deal with the ugliness of having a virtual environment on a remote machine and just using that from a systemd unit file. So I just abandoned it, went the simpler sort of way. Yeah, stuff like that. Just always managing complexity, always choosing where it makes sense, always choosing the more simple or straightforward way to do something, unless you truly get massive benefits from doing it another way. Like if I had to roll this out to 10,000 machines, well then suddenly it becomes a lot more attractive to spend a day getting this to work as a C binary, or even rewriting it in Go, which is another thing we can do. Maybe we can translate this to Go as a little Go learning project. Let me know if you want that in the comments. This works. This is a script that works. It's packaged, you know, reasonably well, good enough for me for this video right now. It sends text messages when someone logs into a server. I have a bunch of them. I've spent a bunch of money on sending myself text messages today, so I feel happy. I was gonna say, yeah, maybe we'll translate it to Go. That'd be fun. I really like Go. The more I use Go, the more I really like it. In fact, some things are shockingly as simple as in Python. It ends up being a little more verbose, but I think it pays that back through kind of reliability, through it's a little bit more hardened, it's certainly a lot more performant, it's a lot faster. And it's just an interesting language. Maybe we'll do that. Yeah, let me know what you think. I'll try and chop this together. This is a ton of footage for me to edit, but by the time you see this, I'll have already gotten through that. So I hope that's been fun. I hope just see me kind of puzzle through something, and just kind of like the slow process of building something is useful. But in the end, it's like under 100 lines of reasonably well documented Python single script. There's no need to go full object oriented for this. It would just be a whole lot of extra overhead for basically no benefit. Just keep things small, keep them composable, write functions that really make sense, like make sure the level of abstraction makes sense, where you're kind of cutting concepts apart. I guess I'll see you in the next one. Peace.